Shiva's dilemma. The winds howled against the lofty peaks of Mount Kailash, swirling snow in violent gusts. But inside the cave-like chambers, there was only silence. Shiva sat on his tiger skin mat, eyes closed, but his brow furrowed, a rare sight. Parvati stood nearby, her expression a mixture of concern and impatience. For months now she had seen him like this, wrestling with a dilemma that seemed to weigh heavily on his mind. Parvati.
Shiva, you've been sitting there, brooding for nearly a year now. What is it that torments you so deeply? Her voice was gentle but firm, laced with the concern of a partner who had waited too long for answers.
Shiva opened his eyes, his gaze distant, as if still trying to grasp something elusive. The world is changing, Parvati. Humans, they are teetering on the edge of something monumental, yet they remain blind to the consequences of their actions. Conflict, greed, and the allure of profit, they drive every decision. It's as though they've forgotten how to live in harmony. Parvati.
But that is their way, isn't it? To struggle, to fight, to fall, and to rise again. You cannot impose peace upon them when they themselves are not ready to accept it. She walked closer, her frustration beginning to show. Is it that you feel helpless? Because that's what it seems like.
Shiva's lips curled into a tight line. Helpless? No, I am not helpless. But the answers I seek evade me. AI, automation, profit motives, they've accelerated humanity's march towards imbalance. Every solution I consider leads to more entanglement. It's like trying to mend a torn fabric that unravels further with every stitch. He stood up, his height towering over Parvati as he paced across the cold stone floor. Humans are creating a world where they are bound by systems they no longer control. Everything is interwoven. And yet, his voice faltered, tinged with rare vulnerability. They are lost in the pursuit of power and survival. Even with all my wisdom, I cannot show them the way without interfering with their free will. Parvati's eyes softened, but there was an edge to her tone.
You sound like you're losing faith in them. Is that it? Have you forgotten that they are also your children, Shiva? They may be flawed, but they are not without hope.
Shiva. Hope, he muttered, almost bitterly, is a fragile thing. It flickers and fades when faced with greed and fear. Even those who strive to do good are bound by systems that perpetuate inequality and suffering. His hand swept outwards, gesturing towards the world below. Look at them. Every decision humans make is dictated by profit, survival, and competition. They build machines to replace themselves, not realizing they are constructing their own demise. Parvati's frustration boiled over.
And yet, you do nothing but watch. You sit here lamenting their flaws, but offer no guidance. If you see the problem, why not intervene?
Shiva turned sharply, his eyes blazing with the fire of cosmic knowledge and anger. Intervene? And what then, Parvati? Would you have me force them to follow a path they cannot understand? Would you have me strip them of their choices, of their humanity? You think intervention is the solution, but what you fail to see is that any intervention from me would create an even greater imbalance. He exhaled, his anger cooling, but the weight of his words remained heavy. My dilemma isn't their ignorance. It's that the more I try to help, the more they suffer. They must find their way, or they will never learn. Parvati.
But the suffering is immense, Shiva. How can you stand by and do nothing? Her voice cracked, the deep compassion in her heart now fully exposed. I've seen you take action before. Why is this different?
Shiva looked away, his gaze lost in the swirling winds outside. Because this time, the stakes are too high. The balance of existence itself is in question. Their creations, artificial intelligence, automation, they have the potential to destroy everything if mishandled. And yet, the solution must come from them, not from me. They must learn to work together, to dissolve their selfish motives, to find harmony not just with nature, but with the very technologies they create. The silence between them grew thick, pregnant with the weight of the conversation. Shiva's plight was now clearer, but the solution remained out of reach. He had seen civilizations rise and fall, but never had he felt so conflicted about the fate of humanity. Parvati.
You are afraid, aren't you? She whispered, her realization dawning. You fear that no matter what you do, the outcome will be disastrous.
Shiva's eyes met hers, soft but filled with the burden of cosmic knowledge. I fear that even with my intervention, humans will not learn. They will fall into the same patterns again, and the cycle of suffering will continue. My dilemma, Parvati, is that no matter what I choose, I risk deepening the very problems I seek to resolve. Parvati took his hand, her earlier frustration melting away.
Then what is the way forward, Shiva? How do we help them if you cannot intervene directly?
Shiva closed his eyes again, drawing a deep breath. Perhaps the answer is not in leading them, but in guiding them towards their own realization. They must rediscover the spirit of community, of balance, without force. The universe will always offer infinite choices. It is up to them to choose wisely. I can only hope that they will, before it's too late. Parvati, though still uncertain, saw the depth of his pain and conflict. She squeezed his hand, her voice now gentle.
Then guide them, my love. Show them the path, but let them walk it.
Shiva, though weary, nodded slowly. Yes, perhaps that is the only way. And as the storm outside raged on, within the quiet chamber of Kailash, a fragile peace settled between them. The way forward was unclear, but they would face it together, bound by their love and the hope that humanity would find its own way through the chaos.
Thank you for being with us. Like and subscribe, and please hit the bell icon to get instant notification of contents added.